Titled The Stuntman, Episode 4 of Season 4 of Only Murders in the Building returned this week, and it brought us a couple of steps closer to finding out who the killer of Sazz could actually be. However, this week in particular really made me question if Sazz was actually dead, or if it was something that she did to escape the life that she was leading because she'd finally had enough of it. With there being emphasis on the fact that there was actually no body that was found of Sazz, I'm starting to think that the path that we're being led down isn't what it seems. But we'll delve into that specific theory during the video, with Bev appearing at the end and actually threatening the trio once Charles unlocked the mystery of what Sazz's paradise was. Let's jump into the episode, break down the clues, and discuss everything that was important within it. So let's get into it. Here is Only Murders in the Building Season 4 Episode 4 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. The theory around Sazz faking her death. So this episode was kind of all about how stunt doubles and actors are on each other's sides on set, but how there's a level of respect that isn't given to the stunt doubles despite the fact that they put themselves in danger in order for the actor to just sit on the side whilst they take the risk to make the film look good. This was why there was conflict when Charles, Oliver and Mabel entered the bar called Concussions, which is fitting because stunt people most probably get concussion due to their line of work. At the end of the first episode, I did initially question whether or not Sazz's murder might have been real or not, and after this episode there's now actually some doubt that's in my mind on if she's actually dead. Being a stuntman is something that you probably can't go on to do forever due to the impact that your body takes over the years. It's not something that your body is just going to withstand for an elongated period of time, especially as you get older. Sazz said a line to Charles where she mentioned that she didn't know how she was going to be able to get away from it all, and that she planned on opening up her own academy one day, but she didn't want to tell the other stunt people, because they would have given her a hard time about it. When connecting this to the present day, when Charles went to see Dr. Maggie in the back room of Concussions, Dr. Maggie mentioned that Sazz said how she was retiring and that she was going to transition into some new kind of career. A career that we didn't know about, and neither did Charles. I'm going to presume that her retirement could well have been the sensitive thing that she wanted to tell Charles but never did. She said how he was his number one guy, which meant that she valued a face over her stunt double colleagues, something which would have clashed with the beliefs of them. So with there being no body presence of Sazz, what's to say that she didn't just devise her own way of being able to leave the industry because she didn't know how else she'd be able to leave it? That's just one theory for now, and I'm sure as time goes on, new clues will either contribute to that or they'll debunk it, but I think it's plausible for now. One other reason that it could be the case, and something that I think is quite interesting, is the fact that the Hollywood studio that's making the Only Murders movie could be involved in some way too. There's a running joke about the show about how many murders can actually occur in one apartment block. So what if the show has actually decided to lean into that and have a fake murder taking place? And this fake murder could have been set up by the studio that's making the movie in order to give the movie some more substance. With Sazz also being connected to Hollywood and fame, there's nothing to say that she wouldn't have decided to get involved in that, especially if she was getting a paycheck for it. Bev knew about the Sazz Pataki Impact Academy and she was snooping around there at the end. Plus, Howard received a leaflet for open auditions for the movie whilst he was in Dudenoff's apartment, so it showed that the studio could potentially be involved in Sazz's death or the faking of the death in some way. It was mentioned that Sazz and Loretta were also following each other on social media, and Loretta was currently in LA, the same place as the studio that's making the movie. On Sazz's table, she had a flight ticket from LA to New York, so it showed that she could well have been out there meeting with the studio in some capacity, especially if they had this planned. Either way, I don't think this is as straightforward of a case as what the previous seasons have been, and I think there's going to be a big twist involved. The ending explained. Let's first start by dealing with the whole Dudenoff situation. So it turned out that the people that were across the road in the opposite building weren't part of a cult, but instead they were renting the apartments that they lived in on floor 14 from Professor Dudenoff. He owned them all as part of a subletting scheme where he was only charging the residents $200 a month to be there, in the center of the city. This is something that Mabel believed and got on board with because she obviously needed a place to stay. Whilst that is plausible, I don't think it gets them all off the hook right now, but it does kind of explain the leg of pork and the Portugal connection as Dudenoff retired over there, and he sends that back as a treat for them all. This also explains why Vince was untangling a Portuguese flag from around the leg in the early part of the episode. I wonder if Sazz was previously renting one of the apartments that was there, or maybe could she even be Dudenoff? In the previous episode, there was a photo of somebody who had their face drawn over, and judging by the height and hair, it looked like it could be Sazz. So what if she is Dudenoff, or if she was in the scheme for a while in order to keep an eye on Charles, which would tie into the whole looking at Charles note. And then when she decided to leave, it might have upset some of the residents there. So if Sazz was dead and was killed by one of them, that could potentially give them motive. Or she could have retired over in Portugal, and that could have been her plan. The person on the ham radio was said to be Rudy's ex-girlfriend, and that she was apparently going through some mental health issues, which was causing her to come out with a statement on the person dying when looking into Dudenoff. I don't buy that completely, and I think there's definitely going to be more coming from them. With regards to the actual ending, we saw that Charles came to the understanding that Sazz's paradise that she was referring to in his dream was actually a place in New Jersey where she wanted to open up her Impact Academy. It was once the trio were in there where they found that Bev was inside, and upon seeing the trio, she pointed her weapon at them and said that she'd shoot them if they moved. This is something that is quite baffling because Bev is obviously the person that's working closely on the movie, which is what's making me think that the studio could be involved in some way. Like I mentioned earlier about Sazz potentially being in on the cover-up, what if she actually knew Bev and was in some kind of relationship with her? Hence why Bev ended up there and had such a hostile response to seeing them. How else would she know about the paradise that even took Charles a long time to figure out? It's so hard to pinpoint what is actually going on right now because not only are we looking for a killer, but we're also questioning if the victim is actually dead or not. My review of the episode. I thought this was a really enjoyable episode of the show. It was fun, light-hearted, and it had some great comedic moments within it. Whether it be Charles's cheesy jokes that he'd deliver, Oliver's fear of Loretta cheating on him, the introduction of Paul Rudd's second character in the show, Glen Benron, the funeral scene, and Howard and his relationship with the pig, something that I thought was the most humorous. I still don't think an episode in this season has topped the premiere. That first episode of season 4 was just simply incredible from a storytelling perspective, a creative perspective, and it was one of the best episodes that the show had ever produced. It was the premiere, so it was always going to be hard to match that standard throughout, but the quality isn't actually that far behind. This season doesn't seem to be dropping as many clues as the previous ones have done, and I kinda like that. But that's what's truly making me question if Sazz is actually dead or not, or if this is just her way of getting out of the industry. This was quite a short episode to be fair, only coming in at around 35 minutes, but I feel like they did a good job at getting everything that they needed into the episode, as I don't feel as though it felt rapid when compared to the usual 45 minutes. So that's a compliment on the writing and the directing because it was paced really well. The next episode of the season is titled Adaptation, and its description is the trio face off against a collection of individuals who deceive, manipulate, and threaten as second nature, a Hollywood cast and crew. So it seems like the trio are going to be heading to LA where they're going to be seeing a different side to the people that are going to be portraying them. This show is such a unique take on a murder mystery, and the comedy that beats like the rhythm of a heartbeat throughout this show is genuinely what carries it, along with the strong performances of the cast members. Yes, it can be silly sometimes, but I think that's the beauty of this show. It's fully aware of its identity and it thrives because of that. So, there you have it. Only Murders in the Building Season 4, Episode 4, Ending Explained. If you want to see more videos on Only Murders in the Building, then click on the card in the top corner. I'm covering the entire season, and I also broke down the entirety of Season 3, so that should be there too. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find videos as well. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of this episode? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.